So, if you run a CPA firm, you already know the pressure, right? You've got constant deadlines, really complex compliance rules, and that ever-present threat of burnout during tax season. It's just a lot. But what if there was a way to not just manage all that work, but to actually use it to fuel your firm's growth? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into. Here's a quick roadmap of what we'll cover. First, we'll talk about the core dilemma that pretty much every firm is facing. Then, we'll unveil a strategic solution and show you exactly how it works. We're also going to look way beyond just saving costs, tackle the big questions of quality and security, and then wrap it all up with one final powerful takeaway. All right, let's jump right in with part one, the CPA firm dilemma. We're calling this the pressure cooker because, let's be honest, that's exactly what it can feel like trying to run a firm, especially when things get crazy. So let me just ask you, point blank, is your team overwhelmed? It's a really simple question, but the answer usually says a whole lot about the challenges bubbling just under the surface of a busy firm. I'm willing to bet these look pretty familiar. You've got those intense client deadlines, compliance rules that seem to change every other day, and workflow bottlenecks that always seem to pop up at the absolute worst times. And when you pile on the high cost of finding good local talent, what do you get? It's almost always staff burnout and a whole lot of stress. This is the day-to-day reality for so many firms out there. So when you're stuck in that pressure cooker, what can you actually do about it? Well, that brings us to part two, a strategic solution. This is what we're calling the offshore secret weapon that the really smart firms are using to break that cycle for good. Okay, so let's be super clear on what we mean by this. Offshore accounting isn't just about, farming out a few random tasks. It's about leveraging a dedicated, fully trained team, often in a place like India, to handle all that routine, time-sucking work, which then frees up your US team to focus on bigger things. And this is why it's so much more than just a cost-cutting trick. It is a strategic move. I mean, think about it. By having someone else handle the repetitive work and crush those bottlenecks, you do something incredible. You free up your best people for high-level advisory work. That's how you scale your firm's capacity without all the cost and hassle of hiring more people locally. It's a game changer. So we've covered the what and the why. Now for part three, let's get into the how. How does this all actually work day to day? Well, it all boils down to the mechanics of a 24-hour workflow. This right here is where the magic happens, the time zone advantage. So your US team finishes up for the day and assigns whatever's pending, reconciliations, audit prep, you name it. Then, while you're at home sleeping, the offshore team in India is just starting their day. They get all that work done. So when your team walks in the next morning, bam, the completed work is sitting right there in their inbox, ready for review. It's this continuous round-the-clock process where the work never stops, but nobody has to work overtime. And the sheer scope of what you can delegate is just huge. We're not talking about one or two little things. This model can handle your daily accounting, like bookkeeping and reconciliations, the entire month-end close, critical support for audits, and even a ton of the legwork for tax prep. All of that essential but super time-intensive work can just be handled seamlessly. Now, this brings us to a really crucial point in part four, something that goes way beyond just efficiency or saving a few bucks. This is about actively empowering your onshore team. And this just illustrates the transformation perfectly. I mean, before, your best people are just bogged down in the weeds with repetitive tasks and data entry. But after, they're freed up to focus on the stuff that actually moves the needle. High-value client advisory, strategic planning, and actually growing the firm. You're literally transforming their jobs from tactical to strategic. And just look at this potential shift in focus. Can you imagine your team spending 65% of their time on strategic advisory work and another 25% on just building stronger client relationships? That leaves only 10% for the repetitive stuff, which is now being handled by your offshore partners. This is how you build a more productive, a more satisfied, and frankly, a more powerful local team. Okay, but I know what you're thinking. What about the really big questions like quality and security? Let's tackle those head-on in part five, because honestly, they are the absolute foundation of trust in a partnership like this. Look, a successful offshore relationship doesn't just happen by accident. It's built on a solid blueprint. These things aren't optional. They're required. You need custom workflows tailored to your firm, a multi-level review process to ensure accuracy, secure encrypted systems, crystal clear communication, and a dedicated team that is trained specifically on your processes. So, naturally, one of the first questions people ask is about implementation. This all sounds great, but how quickly can we actually get started? And the answer is actually surprisingly fast. With a really structured process, most firms can be fully up and running in just 2 to 4 weeks. But, of course, speed doesn't mean anything without security. Which brings us to probably the most important question of all. Is the work, and more importantly, is your client's data actually secure? And the answer is a definitive yes. But it's a yes that's backed up by some serious technology and processes. We're talking about encrypted systems, role-based access so people only see exactly what they need to see and nothing more, and super strict, legally binding confidentiality protocols. So let's bring all of this together in our final section. The key takeaway here is to stop thinking about offshoring as just outsourcing a task and start seeing it for what it really is, a strategic growth enabler. This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? Offshore accounting isn't just about saving money. It's a strategic tool to scale and improve efficiency. That's the core message. It's about building a stronger, more resilient, and more profitable firm by taking the stress off and empowering your local staff. So I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. Take a second and really think about it. What could your firm achieve with a 24-hour workflow? What new levels of client service and growth could you hit if your local team was totally empowered and focused on strategy? That's the potential we've been exploring today.